So what exactly is going on with Conor McGregor? He says that he's getting impatient. He says that the UFC are not giving him a fight. Now we hear that Dana White is speaking to Conor McGregor and they're organizing something and they're working some stuff out, which is extremely interesting. We're going to get into exactly what people think that is. And we're also going to hear a little bit from Michael Chandler.
Would you want to wait as long as possible for the guy like me who's a real fighter who wants to be in there, who wants to compete, so that I say, screw it, I'm going to go fight someone else, and then he can go fight an easier fight, Nate Diaz. He can go fight an easier fight, Tony Ferguson.
So that's what I think every time I hear Chandler talking about this Conor McGregor fight. It's kind of getting to the stage now where we say enough is enough, right? Chandler is constantly pushing for this fight. He thought he was going to get this fight a year ago. He hasn't fought since November 2022. By the time he gets to fight Conor McGregor, he will be out of the octagon almost a year and a half, coming up on 2 years. As for Conor McGregor, when he finally does get back into the octagon, if that's in April, if it's in May, if it's in June, this dude will be out of action almost 3 years. We saw what happened with Colby Covington. We see what happens all the time with fighters when they have a long layoff. They never come back the same fighter, especially after a horrific leg break like this. This scenario has so many moving parts at the moment. Last night, Dana White came out and said that I'm in Abu Dhabi, he's in Dubai, we're speaking on the phone, we're trying to organize something. What does that mean? If we're looking at social media trends, if we're looking at YouTubers making content, it means that Conor McGregor is an embarrassment to the company at this stage. Dana is seeing his antics, he's seeing the wide-eyed look every time there's an interview or every time he rolls into a boxing match, and he's saying, man, how can we get away from this? That seems to be one theory that's been floated around a lot. You have theories coming from Sugar Sean O'Malley as well, saying that he has become too expensive for the UFC to give him a fight, which doesn't really make sense, because when you look at the numbers, both times that he fought in 2021, was it, against Dustin Poirier, profit margins went through the roof for them two events. So I don't think that makes sense from Sugar Sean O'Malley. But again, there's so many theories flying left, right and center. Chandler keeps fueling it and Conor keeps fueling it, and we don't know where anything is happening, and we're not really hearing much from Dana White. So what exactly is he talking to Conor about? Whereabouts is Conor's mind in terms of getting in there and fighting? We've seen a lot of training footage coming out. People laugh and scoff at that training footage. He does look like he's gotten somewhat back in shape. He's not as blown out and bulked as he used to be, which would indicate that he's ready to go. I mean, what's the holdup? This seems to be a common thread with Conor McGregor because of the enigmatic personality that he is. It's hard to get a deal done. It's hard to get a deal done. Easy as it sounds on paper for the layman or for the casual like myself. You know, it's like, okay, Conor McGregor signed to the UFC. He's got a contract. He says that he's fit. He says that he's ready to fight. Chandler's been waiting a year and a half at this stage, kind of desperately. I don't mean to be rude, but it does seem to be getting to that stage where it looks desperate. The dude is 37 years old. He's been sitting on the shelf now for a year and a half. Saying that division is a weird one. There's a stalemate there at the moment, because if you look at the top five, it's Gaethje, Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, Islam Makhachev. Michael Chandler's already gotten smoked by most of them boys, so I don't know where he goes from here. People are saying that Conor's frightened to come back and fight a guy that's in the top five, but I'm kind of looking at that thinking, this dude is 37. He's been beaten by a lot of guys in the top of that division. But when you think about how long Chandler has been sitting out at this stage, and the fact that he got smoked by the majority of the boys that are in the top 5 or the top 10 in general, you're kind of thinking, okay, yes, he's going to come in there and he's going to come in hot, especially for the first round. But I don't know whether it's bias or favoritism. You'd be expecting Conor to land something in that first round, right? I mean, he came in there cold against Dustin in their second fight, and he was landing until he got his leg chewed up. I don't know whether Chandler's going to have the cognitive maturity to go in there and start chopping legs, staying on the outside, trying to counter. I don't know whether he's going to do any of that. I think he's going to come in there swinging. He's going to come in there swinging and maybe get clipped. So in terms of Conor being frightened of that fight, I don't think that's the case. I don't think Conor's ducking Chandler and trying to get an easier fight, because there's not really an easier fight there for Conor in that top 10 division. So we add in the element of UFC 300. We add in the element of Conor being a little bit sketchy, to say the least, and then we add in the element of whether the UFC are embarrassed by Conor's behavior outside. I think that the UFC are kind of fundamentally about making money, and they know that they'll make a shitload of money with Conor McGregor, so all that kind of goes to the side. So then it comes down to kind of personalities between Dana White and Conor McGregor. What's their relationship behind closed doors? Can they get something signed on the dotted line? Dana is saying it's Chandler. Conor's saying sometimes it's Chandler, sometimes he's talking about every other fighter in the world. He's talking about jumping up the box and all this type of craziness. I'd love for us to get to a position where we actually had something set in stone, and that's it. And it would put everyone's mind at rest, especially the likes of Chandler. As I said, we're getting to the stage now where it's kind of desperate, and it's kind of like, how long can you wait? And how beneficial is red panty night? You know what I mean? And one of the craziest theories or options for Conor McGregor coming back that a lot of people are saying, and again, this is just internet speculation, you know what I mean? But people are talking about Tony Ferguson. I've seen so many people mention Tony Ferguson as of yesterday when Chandler came out with this clip from the interview where he said that Conor was dodging him or waiting it out. People are like, okay, this fight shouldn't happen. This should be Tony Ferguson's fight. Tony Ferguson gets one final hurrah, a massive fight, a massive payoff. It's an easy tune-up fight for Conor McGregor because a lot of people think he's looking for a tune-up fight. And if we look at this quote here from Conor McGregor, if I was a boxer, they'd put me in against someone who would never box before. That's what they would do in boxing to build me back up. But no, you get thrown into the lines then in MMA. And he said that on October the 28th, which is a month and a half ago. And you're kind of going, okay, what exactly did you mean by that? Is this why everybody is jumping on board this Tony Ferguson, Nate Diaz type of a spin where it's like a tune-up fight? Where it's like someone that's of the same level of him, someone that's of the same age. I know Chandler's older, but he's just a little bit more tenacious than them boys. So that opens up a bunch of questions with Conor McGregor in terms of where his head is at. And that's what leads Chandler then to retort with like, he's trying to wait me out and he's trying to get an easier fight. Who wants to watch Tony Ferguson and Conor McGregor? I don't think anyone is interested in that. But it's amazing how many people have spoken about it online in the last 24 hours. People are a lot more favourable of the Nate Diaz fight, UFC 300, the trilogy. Let's get it done. That's understandable. I can get that. So the question remains, what exactly is Conor McGregor and Dana White planning? Who's the next opponent gonna be? Is Conor waiting it out looking for a tune-up fight? Is he trying to just dodge Michael Chandler completely? Has Michael Chandler got to the stage of desperation now where he should be moving on for his own sake and for the sake of his career? These are all questions that have opened up in the last 24 hours. And it's going to be very interesting to see if we do get an announcement from Dana White, Conor McGregor or Michael Chandler in regards to their upcoming fights. Let me know who you think Conor should be fighting next. Let me know if you think he should be on the UFC 300 card. Let me know if you think it should be the trilogy or whether it should be Tony Ferguson. The last hurrah.